Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I am so excited because right in front of me is a enormous stack of books, so we can go over a recent book haul that I did. I actually have a lot of books to go over with you guys. I also have some fun like bookmarks. I have just things. We have things to talk about, and I also have some like stickers and just little fun stuff. So I thought it would be really fun to jump on here and just show you guys all the book related goodies that I got. I really love watching book hauls myself, so if someone out there gets a little bit of joy watching this or gets some inspiration for maybe another book series or book that they are going to want to jump into, then I feel like that is the biggest goal for me. Okay, so before we jump into it, I think what I will do just to kind of maintain some sort of order to this, I'm gonna go with series first and then my standalones. And then within each of those two kind of categories, I'll go by genre. And I think I'll do fantasy, since that's probably the most that I have. So fantasy, sci-fi, and then I'll do some romance, nonfiction, classic books. I mean, we have a mix of like all kinds of genres. So I'm really excited to share everything that I got with you guys. And there's a lot of good books in here, and I'm excited. I'm ready. So let's get started. Okay, so the first series I picked up was the first 4 books in the Throne of Glass series. So we have Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, Assassin's Blade, and Heir of Fire. I actually have already read the entire series. I just don't own the physical copies of them. So I got the first 4, and then over time I'll just slowly get the remaining ones. I actually really enjoyed this series. So this was the second Sarah J. Maas series that I read. I read ACOTAR first, and I really, really loved that series. And then I decided to go into Throne of Glass after that. I did enjoy Throne of Glass a lot, and I really loved the characters. That is one thing that I really think Sarah J. Maas does super, super well, is her characters. I think I still prefer ACOTAR just because it was a really sentimental series to me. I'm really excited to finally have those. Now, I think I will eventually reread the series, just not this year because I have way too many books I'm trying to read. Okay, and then the next book I picked up was Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. So this is the second book in the Six of Crows duology, which I actually already have. Haven't read either of these books, but I've heard nothing but great things. I actually really want to read this duology soon because I'm trying to go into the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. So I want to read this one first because they're both heist series, and I feel like this would be a good way to kind of introduce me to a fantasy heist and then go into Mistborn after that, and then continue on in the big world of Brandon Sanderson from there. So I'm just really grateful to have the whole completed set now and to be able to get started on that so I can go into my Brandon Sanderson era from there. So the next fantasy series that I picked up was the first 2 books in the Mortal Instruments series. So we have the City of Bones and the City of Ashes. These are by Cassandra Clare. So this is the first series in her Shadowhunters universe, which from what I understand, I'm like 20 years late to the game on this because this was really popular when I was young and I just never knew about it. I really want to experience what Cassandra Clare's writing style is like and just understand what this universe is and why there is so much hype around it. Now, from what I understand about the Shadowhunters universe, each of the series is kind of written from a different point in time, and they are all collectively battling the evil like demons or something. From what I understand, that is probably a gross underrepresentation of what this book actually is, but from what I gather, that's what it's about. And I really wanted to just experience what the series is, if I like it. I heard City of Bones is pretty good, but I heard it can be kind of, I don't know, there's like a plot twist or something that happens that can kind of turn people away from the book. So I'm gonna start with the first book and then see if I like it and if I want to continue the second one, but if not, that is totally fine because I also picked up all 3 books in the Infernal Devices trilogy. So we have the Clockwork Angel. Oh my gosh, how am I gonna do this? Okay, so we have Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, and then Clockwork Princess. Now, from what I understand, this series actually takes place more in the like 1800s, and they're still having the struggle and battles with the good versus evil and whatever entities they're taking on. Now, this series I've particularly heard really great things about within the Shadowhunters universe. I've heard there's a really good like love triangle in this. There's a lot of good plot and conflict. I'm just excited to check them out and see if I like them, and yeah, just kind of get started in my Shadowhunters journey. So then the next book that I picked up is Bad Blood, and this is by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the fourth and final book in the Naturals series, and I am just really excited to read this one. I do have the whole series now, which is awesome because I've actually really fallen in love with this series, and I don't feel like this series I'm like dying to figure out what's happening next, but I am just enjoying this so much that when I take breaks from my really big, heavy sci-fi or fantasy books and I just kind of need a break, sometimes I will reach for a contemporary romance, but I also have been finding myself reaching for something like this, where it's just easy to read, it's engaging, I can kind of turn my mind off, but still be really enthralled and entertained in the book and the story, and I just really love it. So I am so happy to own this book and to finish this series and just eat it up because I've been really enjoying it. So yeah, I'm excited to read this one. And then on that same note, I decided to go ahead and pick up the first book of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. So I believe this is a trilogy, and I've heard nothing but great things about this book as well. I've heard that Holly Jackson does a great job of combining a YA mystery, but making it very engaging and very appealing to honestly anyone. So I'm really excited to pick this one up as well and just kind of see how much I like it and if I want to continue the series. So I'm looking forward to this one. Okay, so now we are going into some more kind of adult sci-fi fantasies. So I already owned the Jade City book, which is the first book in the Greenbone saga, but I went ahead and picked up the last two in the trilogy as well. So now we have Jade City, Jade War, and Jade Legacy. After reading just the first like 20% of the book, I realized this was a really special series. It is a little bit complicated. It's a pretty high epic fantasy world. There is a lot going on. There's a really unique magic system that they have, and I won't go into it too much just to kind of keep this video short, but I've been really enjoying this so far. There is just a lot of angst and tension and conflict so far, and I'm really hooked and into it. So I'm really excited to read the last two in this series, and yeah, and just kind of keep going from there. All right, and then the last series that I picked up is Red Rising. This is written by Pierce Brown. So there are actually more books in this series, but I did pick up the first trilogy, which is Red Rising, Golden Sun, Morning Star, and then I picked up the first book in the quartet. So that is Iron Gold. I am currently reading Morning Star with my husband. So this is the final book in the initial trilogy of the Red Rising saga, and I am just so in love with this whole series. I really believe that Pierce Brown just has such an amazing gift for delivering deep, profound messages with very simple words or actions, and he builds his characters so well that the struggles that they go through feel very real and very relatable. The found family aspect that we see, the character development, and just the plot is amazing. Everything about this series, I have zero complaints, and I have just completely fallen in love with Darrow and the rest of the main characters in the story, and they're just amazing. So I have been obsessed with this series. I am definitely going to be getting like a tattoo of some sort for this series. It has just been absolutely amazing. But anyways, I'm just really excited to read this and super happy to have them now in my collection. So now we're gonna go ahead and talk about the standalone books that I grabbed. So the first book I grabbed was Fairy Tale by Stephen King. So I have been wanting to read Stephen King for a very long time, but he's an author who is very intimidating to me. I also am not a huge fan of like horror novels, so I didn't ever see myself picking up his other books like It. They're just he kind of takes creepy to another level for me, and I just don't know if I'm ready for it. But when I read the synopsis of what this book is supposed to be about, I thought this was right up my alley. So from what I understand, this book follows a main character who is a young high school student, and he has had a pretty troubled life so far. And one day he ends up meeting someone who basically introduces him to this other world, and the story kind of takes off from there. I'm honestly not too familiar with all the books that he's written since he has like a million of them, but if you guys have any good recommendations for maybe some fantasy or some sci-fi, if he has any of them, I'm not sure, then please let me know in the comments down below, because I would definitely love to check out some more books from him that are kind of up my alley. So let me know. Okay, and then the next book I picked up is The Sword of Kon. This is written by Emma Wong, and I've heard amazing things about this book lately. There's been so many people just raving about this book and how good it is. So I know that this book is pretty heavy on conflict, and there's a lot of deep personal things I think this book addresses. And as a mood reader, I feel like I'm gonna have to be in between series or something to kind of fully focus my attention on a book like this, just so that I make sure I'm giving it the right attention that I feel like it needs in order for me to have the full experience. I'm not sure when I'm gonna be picking this up. I just can't wait to. I'm really excited to read this one. All right, so the next book I picked up is The Masters of Death. This is written by Olivia Blake. And honestly, I've heard some pretty conflicting reviews about this book. I feel like for some people it lands really well, and for other people it just doesn't land the right way. So from what I understand, this vampire is a real estate agent, and she's trying to sell this house that has a ghost infestation, and one of the ghosts is refusing to leave until they find out how he was murdered, and the story kind of goes from there. From what I understand, it kind of pieces together different information and then kind of weaves it all together at the end. So I feel like it maybe doesn't make a lot of sense initially and then kind of comes together later as the story develops. So knowing that, I'm curious to see what my thoughts are going to be when I read this, especially with my struggles with reading comprehension and just kind of understanding context and what the author is trying to say and get to. But I actually noticed too when I got this, I didn't realize that like the inside covers have like this cover art, and it's just really pretty. So that's the inside cover. So cool. And then on the back, it also has some cover art. Just super cool. It sounds really interesting and unique, and I don't know, I'm curious if I like it. So then the next book I picked up is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. This is another one of those books that I've just heard so many good things about, and I've just been really intrigued and excited to read this one. And I know that the second book is either coming out or has recently come out. I'm really excited to read this one, and it just seems like it has a really good kind of fall atmosphere to it. So I think I'm gonna pick this book up maybe more towards the fall time, but we'll see. All right, and then the next book I picked up is A Tempest of Tea. This is written by Hafsa Faisal. So this is a recent release this year and is definitely one that I've been anticipating reading. So this is the Waterstones edition. So it came with sprayed edges, which I think are just so cool. And then it also actually came signed on the inside, which I think is just really awesome as well. So from what I understand, this book is about a girl named Arthi. Arthi owns this business, and by day it operates as a tea room, and by night it operates as some like kind of secret criminal blood house for vampires. So it seems like she's kind of like a criminal mastermind in this tea house, and she's kind of looking after the operations that take place at night. And apparently something happens to kind of threaten the safety of her tea room and of just these people that she's taking care of. And the story kind of takes off from there. So that's all I know about this book, but I have just been really looking forward to reading this for quite some time. I think the cover is just really unique and just honestly really cool. It kind of gives this like 1920s era. The cover just looks really cool, and the story sounded really intriguing. So I'm excited to read this one. All right, and then the next book I picked up is If We Were Villains. This is written by ML Rio. From what I understand, there is a murder mystery that is kind of being uncovered through storytelling by reflecting on like events that took place in the past. So this book follows a group of Shakespearean drama students who were also friends on and off stage. Somehow something tragic happens, and now I think they all are kind of trying to figure out who did it, something like that. So this is like a more gothic murder mystery novel and seems really intriguing, and I just thought this was really awesome. I thought the cover was really cool too, so I just really wanted to pick this one up and read it for myself. So then the last fantasy book I picked up is The Will of the Many, written by James Islington. I've heard really great things about this book as well. Apparently this is a fantasy sci-fi blend where we follow a character who just has had a lot of struggle in their life, and they end up getting accepted to a very prestigious school within this society that is built on maybe some questionable foundations. And I believe the main character is trying to kind of disassemble this society from within and just kind of building their way up within the ranks to kind of tear it down. That's the kind of vibe that I get so far from what I gather. I have heard a lot of people say that if you like the Red Rising saga, especially the prose within that series, then you're really gonna like this. And for me, that was all I needed to hear to be convinced to get this book. So I'm really excited to check it out and see if I like it as well. All right, so now we're gonna go into some of the contemporary romances that I picked up. Now, for me personally, I really like to read contemporary romances in between my big fantasy and sci-fi books. I just feel like they're very easy to read, and it just is a nice little palate cleanser and just a nice little break. So the first one I picked up is The Right Move. This is written by Liz Tomford. So this is the second book, I believe, in the Windy City series, and it is a series of interconnected standalones, so you don't have to read them in order to know what's going on. So I decided to skip the first book and go right for the second one because I've heard this is the one that everyone has been loving the most. And I've heard that the male main character in the first book is kind of mean, and I just didn't really care to read that one. So I wanted to pick up this one to see if I was invested enough in the series to see if I wanted to continue it or pick up any of the other books in it. All right, and then the next book I picked up is 5 Feet Apart. This is written by Rachel Lippincott, I believe. So from what I gather, this is a little bit more of a heavy romance book where the two main characters are both either terminally ill or have chronic conditions where they are not able to be within 5 feet of each other. It just sounded like a really heartwarming book. This has also been adapted into a movie, but I don't want to watch it until after I read the book. Obviously, I don't want to spoil it for myself. All right, next I picked up some Emily Henry novels as well. So we have the paperback version of Happy Place and Book Lovers. So I already own Happy Place and have already read this one. So this was actually my first 5-star read of the year, and I decided to go ahead and pick up Book Lovers as well and see if I like that one just as much. Very excited to read this book and just really excited to have the US editions because I do have some of the UK ones, so I'm super excited to have these in my collection. Right, and then the next book I picked up is The Love Hypothesis, written by Ali Hazelwood. So I read my first Ali Hazelwood book back in February. I read Love Theoretically, and I really liked that book. There were a couple things about it that I wasn't the biggest fan of, and apparently that is pretty typical of Ali Hazelwood's writing style, but as a STEM girly myself, I was still very curious to go ahead and pick up one of her other books that's supposed to be very popular, and I just thought it would be cute to see it and try it out and see if I liked it. All right, and then the next romance book I picked up is Every Summer After. This is written by Carly Fortune. I read somewhere that this book has a very similar plot line to Happy Place, so I believe it's like a second chance romance or friends to lovers romance, and I just thought this was a really good book to pick up for summer. Just summer romance vibes. I just thought it was really cute, so I'm excited to read this one. All right, and then the last romance book I picked up is called The Devil Wears Black, and this is written by LJ Shen. So I believe this is an enemies to lovers romance where it's a pretty true enemies to lovers. This romance book carries a lot more depth than just a typical contemporary romance does, where it might hit on some heavier topics as well and just kind of deliver really profound messaging. So I heard this was really good, and I was just really intrigued to pick it up, and I'm curious if I like it. All right, so we are almost done, you guys. The last couple books I picked up are just 2 classics and a nonfiction, so we will go over them really quickly. So one of my reading goals this year was to read a classic novel, and the 2 I decided to pick up were Flowers for Algernon and Fahrenheit 451. So I actually have never read Flowers for Algernon. I never had to read it in high school, and it just sounded like a really special book. I think this just has a lot of the kind of content that I like to read in books, life lessons. I think just ones that maybe contain a little bit of like deep reflection and thought. Flowers for Algernon I'm really interested in and will definitely be reading this year. And then Fahrenheit 451 I actually did read in high school, and I absolutely loved this book. This is, I think, my favorite classic novel. I just really loved the concept, and I think the messaging in this was really special as well. So I'm excited to read these. All right, and then the last book I picked up is a nonfiction book, and that is The Boys in the Boat, written by Daniel James Brown. This book is actually about the 9 Americans who were competing for gold during the 1936 Berlin Olympics. What really drew me into this book was just the amazing reviews that it has. People have absolutely raved about this book. From what I gather, it's almost similar to the book or movie called Unbroken. I actually really love that movie. Personally, I love stories like that because it just reminds me of how strong we can be in our minds to overcome things. So I think it's just super cool, and I'm just really excited to read this book. All right, you guys, so that was the main book portion of this video, but I also have some little bookish stickers and bookmarks I wanted to show you guys just really quick because they're just so stinking cute. So I got this little slow burn match sticker, and I just thought that was so stinking cute. And then I also got this Red Rising sticker. It just shows all the books in the series, and it also included Red God, and I thought that was great because that's the book that hasn't been released yet. All right, and then I also got a ton of other stickers, and I already put them on the back of my Kindle, but there's like a little storm cloud here and a little rain cloud, so I had to get those. And then I got this cute little strawberry sticker and just some other cute ones in there. I got this little sword bookmark with a little purple gem, another sword. This is like a katana style sword, and I just thought that was so awesome. So I also got this like bookmark. I believe it's like a lily of the valley, and then it has a little like bee charm on the bottom. So all right, and then I also got this little bookmark. So this is a lily of the valley flower, and then the bottom just has a little bee, like a long chain bookmark, and on one side it has a little star, and then it also has a little like moon and night sky on it. I got another chain bookmark as well, and this one is a little heart, like a little pink heart with a key. This little hook book chain has a little cloud, like dripping rain and little stars on it. Like how cute! Like that is so cute, right? And then I thought this would be a great one for summer. It has a little strawberry on it and just has some little daisies. And then I also picked up a little bookish mug. This is actually like Tressa's mug from Trust in the Emerald Sea from Brandon Sanderson. So it's perfect to keep my little bookmarks in and just kind of keep them all together. All right, you guys, that was everything I wanted to show you guys. I am surrounded here by stacks and stacks of books, and it's crazy over here. I am so excited to put these away and reorganize all my bookshelves. I honestly don't think they're all gonna fit on here, but we will try our best. And then I think what I'll do next is film like a bookshelf tour / like a physical TBR book tour. I think that'd be pretty cool, especially I think because this is gonna be like the final setup of our bookshelf before we end up moving in a couple of months. So that was it for today's video, you guys. Thank you so much for hanging in there with me, sticking it out if you made it to the end. I'm just so grateful that I get to add all of these awesome books to my collection and just continue on my reading journey and sharing my love of reading and all my bookish passions with you guys. And thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Let me know in the comments below if you guys have read any of these books, if you recommend certain series to me. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to join my journey to finding amazing books and just reading for joy. So thank you guys for tuning in today, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.